California's Gold is produced in association with KCET Los Angeles and is seen statewide on California Public Television. This series is endorsed by the California Teachers Association, the California School Boards Association, and the California Library Association. Well, hello everybody, I'm Huell here, and here we are on this spectacular fall morning in the nice little community of Granite Bay in Placer County, just a little east of Sacramento. Now, we've come here to spend the whole day visiting a family orchard. There's the sign right there, Otow Orchard, fruit stand, tree-ripe fruit. And right over here is the orchard itself. This beautiful place, full of family history, rich family history of beautiful, delicious California fruit. This orchard is definitely a fine example of California's gold. Well, this isn't exactly the way I thought we were going to be starting off this adventure, but here I am standing on top of a big old pile of, well, this is horse manure, and there's a whole field piled high with horse manure. Tosh, tell us what in the world we're looking at out there. Why did you bring us down here to all this manure?
Well, we're going organic, and we wanted to do farming without any chemical additives or pesticides and so forth. So we've gone to a completely no spray, no chemical program. And the horse manure is just part of the fertilization for the soil, and we're trying vermiculture, we're trying biodynamics, whatever works. We're just trying a bunch of different things.
From horse manure to, what are we looking at now, Tosh?
Well, you'd think they were our pet geese, but these guys come every year. They spend 6-8 months here, maybe 300 or 400 of them all together, maybe even more.
So these are wild geese?
That's correct.
Do they live here for a couple of weeks, or?
Well, they live here for several months, but they do take off, so they're not resident geese where they stay year-round.
They know we're coming, don't they?
Yes, they do. They're always alert and mindful that we're intruders.
Oh, look! Oh, that's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. And I'm overwhelmed by these colors, too.
Persimmons have some of the best colors when the leaves turn. I'm from back east, and to look at these colors just makes me homesick.
Yeah. Now, is this persimmon?
That is sunburn. It gets sugar, and then we get 100-degree weather, and it just cooks them.
So that one's not any good.
It's not any good, but it's a lot sweeter than a blemish-free hachia persimmon.
Can I take this off?
You can. You can't eat it until it's water balloon soft, but
boy, it's hard.
Yes, it is.
Now, what do you got the bucket on there for? Aren't you gonna?
Well, I can do that.
I thought we were gonna harvest some out here.
I tell everybody I'm just the tractor driver. It's pretty. It's pretty. I think that's why we keep doing this kind of stuff, because there's a lot of beauty and there's a lot of connection to where our food comes from, and then the other thing is sustainability. You know, we may not be making a living at it yet, but we hope to get there, and with all this other, what should I call it, responsibility to the earth and to the environment.
Yeah.
So otherwise this would be houses.
Yeah, look at this.
It'd be mansions.
It's not houses today. Boy, look at this.
It's
this beautiful orchard, and there's your big old, is that an oak tree over there?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And we're talking about how many acres here?
There's still 40 acres, 20 acres of orchard, and about 20 acres of open space that we're doing the composting. The strawberry farmers leasing 2-3 acres from us, and trying to keep it like it was in the old days.
And when you talk about the old days, this is as good a time as any. Well, let's stand right here with this as a backdrop, because some of these trees look like they're pretty old. This orchard has been here since
1910, 1911, somewhere around there. And my wife's grandfather planted some of these trees.
His name was
Kichitaro Kawano. That was a good quiz. We hate to take out the old trees because we know of the family connection. And at the same time, you can see we're putting in new trees every year. We put in 100, 200 new trees every year to let people know that we're not giving up. We're going to keep on moving.
Boy, I think we have come at the absolute perfect time of the year. Look at the colors and look at the persimmons on these trees. These two right here are absolutely covered.
Well, it's interesting because we actually have harvested these things 2 or 3, maybe even 4 times already.
Wait a minute, you've stripped these trees down 3 or 4 times already?
Well, we come through and the first thing we do is we look for color and we look for size. Since we're drying them, we don't want them to end up being tiny. So that's one reason why...
Look at, I mean, there are hundreds of persimmons in these trees.
There are.
Oh my.
Persimmons are very, very productive, and I think for homeowners, they don't prune and they don't thin. And that's one reason why they're not as productive as our orchard would be.
Yeah.
We run the danger of breaking branches, and that's why the wooden props under them. And I never wanted to do that. I wanted the trees to grow strong on their own, and not need to.
They're so heavy with the fruit.
Very much.
And look, when the leaves change, it's hard to see the fruit because the fruit and the leaves blend together.
Yeah. Now, see, I would fault the workers if they missed a nice persimmon up there, but this year I've probably done most of the picking myself, and it's easy to miss them.
So you got 40 acres. How many of them in persimmons?
Probably 6, 7 acres of persimmons.
So the other 34 acres are in, well, you grow a little bit of everything here.
Yes, peaches, plums, Asian pear, apples, jujube, quince.
Oh my gosh.
Pomegranates, you name it. We put it in the ground if it will grow.
All of this on 40 acres.
That's correct. In order to keep the place running, we opened up a retail fruit stand, and then we need diversity and we need to be able to supply the stand.
Now we're getting down to business. What are we looking at now?
Well, each persimmon has to be peeled before we can dry them.
Mm-hmm.
And so
look at this.
Veronica is quick, skillful, and peels about 15 to 18,000 of these in a season.
Look at the size of those persimmons.
It won't be that size when it's dried. Probably 1/4 of the size.
All right, now we've been talking about drying the persimmons. This gets us into the whole story here that we're looking at. And boy, look at this. What a statement this makes. And maybe we should let your wife pick up the story from here. Hi, I'm Huell Hauser.
Hello, Huell.
Your name?
I'm Chris.
Nice to meet you. What are we looking at here? Because this is the payoff right here, isn't it?
Yeah, this is the process of Hoshigaki, making dried persimmons.
It's called what?
Hoshigaki.
Okay, now walk us through that. Is this a Japanese thing? Is this a Japanese-American thing?
Well, it's a process of drying persimmons that came from Japan when my grandfather came in the late 1800s. And we have continued to do it in this manner, the same way he did it many, many years ago.
So he did it here on this farm in Placer County when he started this orchard back in 1911.
That's right.
Still being done the same way.
Basically, yes.
She's laughing. We should meet this lady right over here. Hi, I'm Huell Hauser. Oh, she's got her glove on. Nice to meet you. Now this lady is...
This is my mother. Her name is Helen Otow.
And she's been on this orchard
her whole life.
Her whole life?
Yes.
More or less.
Wow. And what are you doing right here?
I'm hanging up the persimmons that's been peeled.
Mm-hmm.
You hang up to dry.
So how does this work? Show us how this works. You put a string around... Oh, look. So there's...
That makes it pretty tight.
There's one of them.
Yeah.
Here goes the other one, and then you just put it right over here. What a beautiful sight. Look at this.
Yes.
It's captivating. Now, do we know how far back in time this process goes?
No, that I don't know.
I mean, do we think it went back hundreds of years, thousands of years?
I would guess at least a couple hundred years.
Yeah. Wow. And is this still done in Japan?
I believe it is, yes, it is still done in Japan, although I think that they have modernized the way they do it. They have machines to peel it. They don't peel it by hand. And I guess their process is a little bit different than ours. And
so they've modernized it in Japan.
And we're still doing it the old-fashioned way.
You kept it the old-fashioned way here in Granite Bay. Well, good for
It's
you.
more modern in Japan than here.
Now, from your mother-in-law, Helen, hanging them like this, what happens? They just hang on this board here for how long?
Well, if we're fortunate enough to have good weather like we do, maybe 4 or 5 days, then they're ready to begin the massaging process.
The massaging process. And what is that? Is that what goes on over here?
That's exactly right.
So wait a minute, these have been hanging for how long? 4 or 5 days?
Correct.
So they've already begun to shrink up a little bit.
Yes, you can see that some of them have more wrinkles than others, and then some of them are still fairly smooth. And when they get to the point where you can see them give, they're ready for just a gentle, light massage.
Can I touch these?
Fine, go ahead.
Well,
I mean,
why did you
otherwise-
hesitate for a minute?
Well, because I always wear gloves. But you know, for the sake of experience, you're going to have to do it.
I'm going to have to touch it.
Yeah.
So you just massage it.
And you can feel the difference between that one and this one, for example. Try this one, and
Wow.
you can tell the difference right away.
Yeah, this one's harder.
That's correct. So we don't like to do it too early, and
How much massage do you give on it?
I guess just enough to feel the flesh start to give.
Can you give us a massage right here?
Oh, okay. We just I like to roll them in my fingers, and I like to try to work the ridge so it's not going to dry hard and chewy or brittle or tough, I guess.
So that's about a
and
30-second
right.
all the way around.
And we go right on down the line, and then we'll come back in 2 or 3 days and we'll do it again. And then if it starts to get really like a water balloon, then we kind of leave it alone.
What do you mean like a water balloon?
There will be some that, here you go. Up in here you can see that the skin is real wet, and if we're not careful, it'll go pop open, and the
just pop
insides will
open.
come out.
You know,
So-
this is like a piece of art. This is one of the most beautiful assemblages of fruit that I think I've ever seen anywhere.
We compare it to making wine, fine wine, and it's a food art. There are different styles. People do different things. Some people try different shortcuts. We have tried shortcuts, and we always go back to the long method. It just makes a bit better, more tasty or more better textured finished product.
Boy, this is hands-on to the extreme, literally and figuratively.
About 6 weeks before we market them, handled 15, 20 times each.
Massaged that many times.
Massaged probably a dozen to 15 times, and then the peeling, the tying, the packing. It takes a long time.
From the first drying stage, they stay here how long?
Okay, they're here about 4 days, 5 days.
5 days here, and then we move over to stage 2, and you've got them set up in this little shed here. What is this all about?
Well, you know, it's nice that there's this glass sun exposure, but we have to open the windows in order to keep it cool enough. If it dries too fast, it gets too hard, too quick, And
So there are a lot of variables here.
yeah,
I mean, if it came on a cold spell, or if it was too wet, or
there you go.
just like any kind of farming, it
Yeah.
really depends a lot on nature, doesn't it?
Very much so. We call it faith-based agriculture.
Absolutely.
Takes a lot of faith, and it takes a lot of intervention that is not ours. So we
Well,
really
now, what are
believe
we
that.
looking at here?
Okay, so these are hachia. They seem to have a little bit more wrinkle and a little darker in color, and these are the Gyeongbol variety. And as you can tell, they dry
They're swiveled up more.
and a better color. And so in the finished product, these actually are much more attractive than these. But then if the final stage is when they're coated in white sugar, natural sugar from inside, nobody can tell.
Yeah. But they've still got a ways to go here, don't they?
And all these wrinkles are susceptible to mold.
Oh, wow.
And
so you have to worry about mold.
So we watched the weather, and they said 30% chance of showers today, and that was,
That's not a good thing.
no. So
Now, you're massaging these, too.
yes,
Can I massage one? I got the glove on now.
very good.
You just... Oh, wow.
Water balloon.
Yeah, now these are feeling like they're full of liquid.
Yeah, and then if we're not careful and we break this membrane, the insides just gush out.
So you just kind of barely...
And we're trying to move it so that the wrinkles are in a different place, and then that'll allow that moist area to dry out.
Boy, this is fascinating again. And this whole shed, look at this, is full of these things.
We come out and we spend evenings out here just massaging and straightening up wrinkles. And I think we went in 1 o'clock last night, 12:30.
For another massage. Boy, by the time these things are ready, you get to know each one of them very well, don't you?
Yes. We try to identify some. Oh, that was a big one. That was a long one. How did it dry? And when we're out there picking fruit, a lot of times we drop a fruit or we stick it in a different box because we say, it's gonna be hard to dry that one.
Yeah.
So
you can tell early on, and boy, doesn't this have a nice... See, this is like looking at history here.
we think when we drive into this place or really give it much thought, it's like stepping back in time.
All right, where do you want me to put these?
Put it right there behind the
Okay.
fresh one.
Now we're bringing these out here because this, I think, is one of the most interesting parts of the whole process. What are we looking at here?
Okay, these are after they've been removed from the rack. We will, if we think they're too damp, we'll stick them in a brown grocery bag, and that helps them to dry a little bit more. And then when they're in that bag, we like to bounce the bag around.
You're shaking them around.
So we shake them around. And because we shake them around, we try to trim up the calyx so that it doesn't splinter and get sawdust or little particles of wood all over the surface that people will be eating.
These are very strange looking when they dry up, aren't they?
And then if you play with these, you'll actually see them sugaring up.
Look at this. Sugaring up. Now, what do you mean by sugaring up? And this is what is so fascinating to me.
Well, when you work in a sugar bush, I guess you got certain phrases that maybe
sugaring up
they don't use around here.
These are sugaring up,
but,
because what we're looking at right there, this is natural sugar coming from the inside of the persimmons.
The moisture had come to the surface and evaporated,
look at this.
Glazed on the surface, and then whenever you massage them, you're actually breaking up that glaze. It's pretty much like the windows in a movie. Whenever they break a window and the sugar water shatters, it looks just like glass glittering. And so we're basically doing the same thing. We're breaking up the juice that's dried on the surface, and it glitters. And
this is natural, 100% natural sugar.
And if we were to take the sugar off there, scrape it, or whatever else we do to get it off, it would not be as sweet as sugar, but it definitely is sweet, and it has its own flavor.
All right, so you're shaking it up. Now, what does that do again?
That should help to ventilate it the moisture. Actually, I would leave the plastic bag open to allow the moisture to escape when I do that. But also, that action will also
Bring
break
the
up
sugar.
Yep. So
Wow.
certainly
Look at
to shake a
this.
whole box is quicker than massaging each and every individual.
Now this shows, well, actually starting over here, this shows the whole process. Here, the persimmons right off the tree, and then here they are. Look at this, especially the two that are white.
Yep, it runs right around until they're like that. And like my mother-in-law said, if we're not careful, these will get harder than a rock. And that's another reason for using plastic bags, because it helps to hold the moisture in.
So there's a fine line between being perfectly cured and ready to eat and being hard as a rock.
My grandfather used to make them, and he showed me how. And my mother-in-law would not take mine to ship. She said, they're too hard.
Really?
And so I had to learn all over again. But my grandfather used to slice his up, stick it in his coffee. You chop them up, stick them in your oatmeal. So if it was too hard, it absorbed some moisture.
Can I eat this just like it is?
Certainly.
Well, I don't know. I'm asking you instead of him, because he was going to have me eat one off the tree and get all puckered.
No.
So I can just bite into this?
Yes, you can. It's
This
nice
is the
and-
way people eat them.
Yes.
Just right on the end.
Uh-huh.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. These are absolutely wonderful.
Very good.
Wait a minute, there's a pit in there.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sweet fruit always has seeds. And we put a little disclaimer in the when we sell a package, and it always says, watch out for the seeds.
I didn't see the disclaimer and you didn't tell me. But they're great. Boy, and look at the color on the inside. Boy.
A golden.
Now, your husband is the one who came up with the idea of selling these dried persimmons.
He thought that there was a future in it. Until then, people didn't know much about it. Just the Japanese would eat it a little bit at Christmas time, things like that. So he made that gift box. He ordered that special because he thought that if we package it, people will buy it for gifts. And and then he made all these racks, and we started doing, drying more and commercially trying them.
They caught on.
Yeah.
Well, look, they have a beautiful look to them, don't they?
Well, they do, yeah.
What do you think it is about these things that so captivates people? And
I don't know. Everybody that comes here, they just surprised to see all this, Yeah.
well, you're used to it, but to someone like me seeing it for the first time, this is beautiful.
Well, it's something we've always had, and it's just, some people say, oh, it looks like Christmas lights coming down, and all that, but to me, it's just persimmons.
It's called Hoshigaki, and it's been going on for generations here in Placer County, still going on in Japan itself, and it's absolutely spectacular to see it done the old-fashioned way. Now, you're not getting rich off this, are you?
No, we might make $4 or $5 an hour. Every time we have to hire more help because of expanding, our hourly wage goes down.
But you're rich in the experience and in the history and in the fact that you have kept this family, this orchard in your family, because it could have easily been gobbled up like all the land around here has for big housing developments.
Well, that's true. That's true. And we're very fortunate that our kids come out and help us, and Chris has the grandkids working helping us. So hopefully it'll continue.
Wow, I sure hope it does. Thank you very much for allowing us to watch this in progress today. Thank you very much. Thank you for allowing me to eat a couple of these things, even though I almost chipped a tooth twice. But that's part of it, isn't it?
Right. We have to warn people there's seeds in persimmons. And
There's seeds in persimmons, but boy, look, there's also a lot of sugar, a lot of history, and a lot of love. And these little dried up, shriveled up persimmons are very much a part not only of the history of California, but of California's gold. We've had an absolutely wonderful day here on this family orchard. Well, hello, everybody. I'm Huell Hauser, and I sure hope you enjoyed this beautiful day we spent on this historic California family orchard. If you'd like to go on this adventure again, share it with family or friends, or perhaps donate a copy to your local school or library. It's available on video cassette and on DVD. All you have to do is call 1-800-266-5727, and we'll be glad to send it to you right away. What a wonderful family tradition being carried on right here in California. Now, I just talked with the good folks at the orchard, and they are now accepting pre-orders on their website or by phone. Or, of course, you can visit the orchard itself in Granite Bay, a little bit out of Sacramento. Not only are these dried persimmons called Hoshigaki, not only are they tasty, but trust me, they're also fine examples of California's gold.